Since its founding in 1949, NATO has stood as a cornerstone of collective defense for its members. But a recurring question dominates debates: how much should countries spend on defense, and how has this shaped the alliance's history? During the early years of the Cold War, defense spending was paramount. The United States led the charge, allocating over 10% of its GDP to military expenses. Most European allies spent between 5% to 7%. The objective was clear: counter the growing influence of the Soviet Union. However, as tensions eased in the 1970s and 80s, economic constraints led to reduced military budgets across Europe. By the end of the Cold War, many nations enjoyed a so-called peace dividend, with defense spending plummeting below 2% of GDP. In the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse, NATO's role evolved. Despite involvement in missions in the Balkans and Afghanistan, European nations continued trimming defense budgets. The United States, however, maintained spending above 3% of GDP, shouldering much of the alliance's military burden. Following the 9/11 attacks, US defense spending surged to support global counterterrorism efforts, peaking at around 4.5% of GDP in the mid-2000s. Meanwhile, many European nations, despite security challenges, remained far from NATO's 2% benchmark. Everything changed in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. At NATO's Wales summit, member nations recommitted to spending at least 2% of GDP on defense by 2024. Yet, progress has been uneven. In 2023, only 23 of NATO's 32 members met the 2% goal. The United States still leads with around 3.4% of GDP, while countries like Poland and Baltic states, wary of Russian aggression, have significantly boosted their budgets. Germany, historically criticized for low spending, is ramping up efforts following its €100 billion defense fund announcement. During his previous presidency, Donald Trump pushed NATO allies hard, demanding they not only meet but exceed the 2% target. Now, just before returning to the White House, his team is advocating for a bold new goal: 5% of GDP. European leaders, including the German Chancellor and European defense ministers, have expressed skepticism. As economic pressures mount, balancing fiscal responsibility with security needs remains a challenge. The debate over defense spending is far from over. It also remains to be seen how the Trump administration deals with NATO in its second term, especially considering the threats of leaving the alliance altogether.